Hello everyone, welcome to the Watchalongs. It's been a while. It has been a while. The last Watchalong was in Brazil for qualifying, which was a hell of an event. I think that was on the Sunday, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. Anyway, we're here in Qatar for the second of the three night races in a row that we will have. It is currently practice one, so not quite nighttime at the moment, so we've still got a long way to go until that is the case. We'll get to see the night sky when we get into sprint qualifying later on. We've had a few minutes in the session already. Verstappen tops the times, Russell P2 and Carlos Sainz in P3. Would that be possibly the order that we'll get later on? I don't know. McLaren, it should be their circuit, Heischler, but maybe the Ferraris can make this work if the temperatures are a bit cooler, as they seem to be compared to last year.
Yeah, as we know from Las Vegas, the McLaren doesn't really work in lower temperature. At least that's what most people said that caused the slow McLaren. But I don't think the order we have right now will be the order we have in the end. It will be changed a lot because there's a lot of sand at the moment still on the track. Because you're in the middle of the desert and it's really, how do you say it, prone to hard wind.
Yep. It's very flat as well, so there's not really any hills to try and block that wind. It just goes completely across the circuit. We'll see who can get on top of it. It's not going to be an easy one. Even though it's colder temperatures, it's still not that cold. 25 degrees track temperature, 20 degrees air temperature if you're a European in the slightly norther side. That's actually pretty good temperatures in my opinion. Anyway, Tsunoda's just gone fastest right now. Looking at RB, which we'll have this segue onto now. Tsunoda, he's got 2 more races to go to try and prove himself that he can be in that Red Bull seat next year. Otherwise, he's going to be staying in the AlphaTauri. Again, Sergio Perez is going to have to try and prove himself in these last 2 races as well. Liam Lawson, Eichler, I don't know who I would say is currently ahead to possibly get that seat if Sergio Perez is to lose out.
It's hard to say which one of the 2 V-Cup drivers is in the hot seat at the moment. But the last few news, the news lately said that Perez would keep the seat. So it's I hope it changes because I want to see those other two drivers in the Red Bull and see how close they can get to Max. But I believe it will stay the same. And either way, we will have a great next season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what they're thinking is that Sergio can do great things. He's ultimately a multi-race winner, so it's not like he is a slouch at all. But it's just that he's not suiting this car. And I think they're hoping to keep him in this car next season and figure things out. But it's going to be more or less the same car next season. So is it really the right choice to do that? Or is it time to go elsewhere? Maybe even with Cadillac GM that is going to be coming in to the sport in 2026. More on them a little bit later on. Leclerc's just topped the times. You've got Gasly up to P3 as the order is changing a lot. Tsunoda's lap time from earlier on is currently now a P5, 4 tenths behind, so everybody is getting very, very quick at the moment, and it's a 25.4 is the current lap time. And last season in FP1, it was also a sprint weekend, we saw a 27.4 as the fastest lap time, so we are way ahead right now.
Wow, that's a big jump up. We haven't seen such a big jump up, I think, this year. It's not surprising if you look at the track, because obviously the most downforce comes from the floor, and because of that the high speed corners are even quicker than in the old spec cars. So it's not weird that they gain so much now on this track in particular.
Indeed. And with us currently looking at the 24s, I would assume we're going to do some soft tyre running, at least a little bit of it. I reckon we can maybe even beat the sprint qualifying lap time, the pole time was a 24.454. So we're not actually that far away from already getting close to that pole time in sprint qualifying, even in practice. So that's pretty impressive. We've got a lot of traffic, and that is something that you've got to deal with around a circuit like this. The swooping corners, you come through them so quickly, and they're kind of not blind, but cars that are slow up ahead, they're probably not going to be able to see them so easily. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye out for. Slipstream, of course, from many cars, that might be possible, but also impeding. With dirty air and high-speed corners, it's going to be very, very interesting. It looks so busy in the final stages, final parts of the circuit on the replays. Now it looks like everybody has kind of found a little bit of track, but actually Perez, and that is Zhou, they are pretty close together. Magnussen goes through.
Yeah, it's a mess already at the last corner. I'm surprised we didn't really have too much of incidents in the last 2 times or 3, I don't know, 3 times on this track. So, but it is, if you had walls like Jeddah, it's would have been a really scary track for traffic, even scarier than Jeddah, I think, because here you actually have to brake and slow down sometimes for corners compared to Jeddah. But yeah, so far Russell on top and Norris really close behind. Norris only had a really poor middle sector, a yellow one, and he was like 5 or 6 tenths up to the P1 time who was set then, and now he's only about 4 tenths ahead of that. So I think he made somewhat of a mistake in the middle sector, so probably can go quicker than that.
Yep, a little bit more time to be found, but 47 minutes on the clock, so there is plenty of opportunity to do more. We've got Carlos Sainz going up to P3. We've got a purple middle sector from Pierre Gasly, who is looking to go pretty quick once again. The Alpines do have a little bit of form, except from maybe reliability. They have a little bit of form going from Brazil and slightly from qualifying, of course, in Las Vegas. Piastri goes up to P4 in the meantime as well, and it's going to be Pierre Gasly currently topping the times. That's pretty impressive from the Alpine team. It does seem a little too late really in the season, but they're not that far away from Haas. They could actually possibly beat them. I think actually, sorry, they're ahead of Haas already, so they might actually get those extra millions in the Constructors' Championship. I will double check that in a few moments' time. But yeah, that's a difficult situation for Haas to be in, because they've performed so consistently, getting a few points here and there over the season. To get it taken away from them in such a way like Brazil, it would be pretty painful. They're not ahead, but they're currently 1 point away. 50 points for Haas and 49 for Alpine.
Yeah, and don't forget VCAR just behind them on 3 points, I believe, behind Alpine.
Yeah, 46
So
points.
it's insanely close in that championship. And to be honest, before Brazil, I would have said it's not really the place Alpine should have been in. But if you look at the car performance right now, I actually think they deserve to be there. It does look like in Las Vegas and right now as well that they made a jump up and went a lot closer to the top 4, or at least in that little pack of 3 cars or 3 teams. So I think it is deserved in the end that they are there.
Yeah, that's true. That is fair enough. Ultimately, if you score the points, you score the points. So it is going to help out, or it is going to be somewhat deserved to an extent, of course. 45 minutes on the clock. We've had 15 minutes in the session. I wanted to say a few moments ago, but I didn't quite get around to saying it. It's a circuit that you don't really get too many incidents at. I think you mentioned that earlier, Heisler. We shouldn't see a red flag, I don't think, in this session. So we should get some pretty consistent and clean running, and hopefully that will go throughout, so we can see the proper pace of each car as we go further through the session. Obviously, we only have one practice session, so it does mean everybody dials their car up very, very quickly compared to a normal weekend where we don't really see the pace until the Saturday FP3 session. Not entirely sure what's going on there. It looks like unnecessary Complaining on the radio from a few people as they have some interesting rivalries. But yeah, that traffic is absolutely brutal. Not easy at all.
I don't know what the Red Bull was doing there.
Yeah, I think they're looking ahead, trying to find their way through the traffic and start their or kind of prepare their next lap, and they've ended up just messing up a load of people. And if this is the problem now, hopefully they can get it all sorted and learn their lessons for later on in qualifying, because that's when you're going to start to get penalties if you don't learn your lesson in time. But we'll see. Hopefully we get no crashes, but those walls are pretty far away, so the chances of a crash actually happening is going to be very slim. Talking about crashing, hopefully, because of these faraway walls, Williams don't have any issues as they have had in recent times, and maybe they can show some good pace. The problem is, they've crashed a fair few times and they've damaged their cars, they've damaged their parts. They can't have the top spec parts that they want, they can't take as many risks as they probably would have liked to have done. So, it's a very, very difficult scenario for them to be in. It's a shame for Colapinto, as he only has 2 races to prove that he is F1 worthy, and he did come in with a very, very big bang to start off his F1 career, but since then had a few incidents. In fairness to him, Alex Albon has also had their issues as well. They've also had a few reliability problems as Williams, so they're really just trying to get a good result. They're doing it race by race now. 2 to go. I think it's just going to be about glory, but also a bit more of a maintenance kind of situation. They're not going for championship position at the moment. I think they're just going to accept that. I may be completely wrong, but I think they need to make sure that they just don't crash so they can have enough cost cap money for next season, because otherwise it's going to really mess things up.
Yeah, you focus now mostly on Colapinto, but Albon has had a lot of criticism on him as well lately because of Colapinto, to be honest. I'm not sure if he can get rid of those criticism in only 2 races, because Colapinto has shown that he can out-qualify or even can beat him in a race. So it's a tough position, I think, for Albon. I would say he has to focus on next season already, that he tries to beat Sainz. If he is able to get close or beat Sainz, I think that will look really good for him, because Sainz already is just considered as a really, really, really good driver, but who is always close to either Norris when he was at McLaren or Leclerc at Ferrari.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess the comparison that we do have is that Leclerc used to race Alex Albon pretty hard back in the F2 days, and they used to be fairly even, fighting for the championship there, although Leclerc did beat them in the end. There are some famous clips, of course, but and of course we've now got Leclerc beating Carlos Sainz, I'd say more often than not, although Carlos Sainz isn't far away at all. So yeah, that's an interesting one. That is Sergio Perez going off on the penultimate corner, as it was quite a big dramatic moment. It probably isn't actually as dramatic as it looked, but they did go over the gravel trap, and I think there's been more gravel traps added possibly since last week, or last race, sorry. And it does mean that if you do go over, you are going to be penalised, but if you get a little bit too slippy on those stones, then you are going to probably find yourself facing the wrong way and hopefully not travelling towards the barrier. But also, Heishler, that does mean that everybody gets a load of stones brought onto the track, and then that creates even more problems, especially into braking zones, because you've all of a sudden got less grip, and that could cause some issues for many people.
I mean, I love it. I've said it before.
You love gravel traps?
When they didn't, yeah, I love the gravel traps. I love the gravel traps.
Let's hope that we don't see that tonight.
Yeah, I've said before they were introducing more gravel traps on corners. That's why are they not using it? Why are they always just paving the circuit around and no gravel traps, no curbs, maybe nothing? I didn't like that. I want like real hard track limits. So gravel traps is a great solution there.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, in fairness, maybe there should just be, instead of a white line, a gravel line across the entire circuit. That might actually work. Maybe not the entire way, but on corner entry, no, not even corner entry, just corner exits, that could definitely be a benefit, and I think it should be introduced, even if it's not fully on the outside, just a little bit, so it doesn't mean that you can have a full car width. It means that it's easier for the cars to judge, and you have a natural penalty instead of having to get a time penalty that will be decided after the race and you don't know where anyone's going. Many cars riding over the curbs and dipping into the gravel, that does mean that you scrub the floor a little bit, and they have to be careful with that, because they only have this session to sort things out. There have been adjustments to part firme rules, I do believe, so it does mean that you are able to sorry, I've forgotten here. You are able to change the car a little bit more, I believe, before the qualifying session and after the sprint race. I may be wrong, but they don't really have that much time to make changes, make repairs. So you really can't afford to be doing anything dodgy in an FP1 session on a sprint weekend. You can't afford to do anything dodgy regardless, but especially on these kind of weekends. Talking about something dodgy, Alpine's engine in Pierre Gasly's car, that wasn't great last weekend, but Pierre Gasly, currently kind of in a pretty good form. He's not had any crash damage this season, and I think he's going to be possibly the first driver to ever have no crash damage in a season. I believe that may be the case. Hopefully that hasn't been broken and either all of a sudden given bad fortune. I have done that a few times in my time commentating. It's pretty sad when it does happen, but yeah, hopefully he can keep that up. Pierre Gasly still going to be at Alpine next season. Will they be able to do good things next season? I don't quite know. Is the Mercedes engine coming in 26 and not 25, right?
Yeah, I believe 26. But I feel like I have a theory now, because I'm thinking about it. Ever since Ocon announced that he would leave the team, I feel like Gasly throughout the season went quicker and quicker compared to Ocon. So I'm feeling like they might have been listening more to what Gasly wants from a car, and maybe it somewhat explains as well that the Red Bull is really a car that not every driver can drive. I think Gasly is one of those drivers that needs something of the car, like something specifically, and then he can do great things with it. But if he doesn't have that from the car, he's like on the level of Ocon.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, but at the same time, that's probably the same thing for everyone, and part of being a Formula 1 driver is adapting, especially according to your teammate, if you've got that direct comparison. I think it is a good point, and I think there are many drivers, not even currently on the grid, but also in history, who have looked as if they were doing not as well as they could have done, but it's just because of the package, whether that be directly a team listening to a certain driver and making the car towards another driver than the other. A lot of drivers have denied that that's the case and said that it's never usually the case, because ultimately you just build the car for ultimate performance and the drivers have to adapt to that. But if that's the case, then does that make sense for Red Bull's situation with the car performing in the way it's done? Because Sergio Perez is complaining with the car being on such a difficult limit, and Max Verstappen was able to probably balance that limit for longer, and then all of a sudden as the cars had to been pitched up to perform against the other cars, and it's been a bit more on the limit regardless itself, then Max Verstappen also hasn't been able to do that. So maybe it is actually a trait that is kind of, I don't know. It's a difficult one. What I've just said would actually prove the point of it just being an absolute performance car, rather than a car that's kind of directed to one driver. So maybe it's the case. I think obviously Ocon has had more time at Alpine than Gasly, so he's just carried a lot more momentum in various parts. Now there's been a lot of time where Gasly has been in the team. I think he's definitely nice and comfortable. I think I remember when Gasly first joined Alpine, Esteban Ocon was doing a pretty good job ahead of his teammate at the time. But it has since switched, and Gasly, who is looking very quick, currently sitting P3 and not far away from the top time either, should hopefully have a good result. I don't know what they had in the past. Did they get a P4 in the past around this circuit? I think they did. Or I maybe am making a big mistake. In an AlphaTauri.
I can't remember, to be honest. I know he had a really good Bahrain race once, so maybe you're confusing it with that. But back to the performance of a car, I think, yes, theoretically they are always aiming to make the fastest car in theory. But like myself, I need to be confident with the car as well. So all good and well that in theory a setup, for example, is quick, but if I don't feel confident with it, I can't get to that level, which in theory it should be able to. So it's a bit of both. I think it's, yes, definitely theoretically fast car, but also making it around a certain driver will also make it more easy to drive for him.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just trying to look through to see that result for Pierre Gasly, but it's telling me that Oscar Piastri won the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix, which I'm pretty sure wasn't the case. Just having a look now, and no, I must be missing out. Maybe it was more that he had a puncture or something. I will quickly double check that and see if that's the case or not, but again, I don't think it will be. The 2022, they ended up finishing the Qatar Grand Prix. No, it wasn't even on the calendar in 2022. Was it? It wasn't. I'm dreaming. Anyway, let's just move away from that because that's pretty poor. Currently 31 minutes on the clock, almost at the halfway mark of the session. Charles Leclerc leads the way and is looking quicker than I thought. Both Ferraris looking quicker than I thought, and the McLaren's looking a little bit slower than I thought would be the case. Mercedes also not as high up as I thought they would be either.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Ferraris are that high up. We're both on the hards, so it's questioning if Ferrari is that quick. Like, I want to see them on the. Nora's going off a bit. I want to see them in on the mediums now. I want to know if they are far ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, we will get to find that out a little bit later on as the session goes ahead. Time passes, and it makes it very evident who has managed to dial in the car or not. The circuit has not cooled down since we started this session, so the changes or the kind of track environment is more or less the same. It's just going to be a little bit less dusty, which will definitely be the case. I'm just trying to do something a second, so I do apologise for that short delay. We're all good to go, and yeah, we'll see what happens in a few moments' time. I'm a little bit lost of what I'm talking about now, so I'm going to have a look at the data. And Haisha, I don't know if you've got anything to say.
Yeah, I have. We had a little onboard of I think Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
Around the quick right-handers, and my God, the neck is all over the place. It really looks like you're, instead of steering the car, you're holding on the car because it's so incredibly quick around those corners. It did look quite unnecessary as well for the Haas. Like he missed the second apex of the triple right handle, so it's I don't think they have found the sweet spot yet with the setup, but it looked really uncomfortable to drive, just in general for any driver around this track. It's so demanding in those corners.
Yeah, demanding for sure with the temperatures last season. So it was early October the race took place. Now, of course, it is late November. So the temperatures have changed a lot. We almost saw many drivers passing out last season. So it's good that there have been changes made. That is a car off and a lot of gravel everywhere. As is that Piastri, I believe?
Yep, Piastri.
Piastri following his teammate right now, but that's a lap kind of probably aborted. They might be able to get another one in, but I think they're already backing off. We've got Lando Norris, who is going to be going for... I don't know if that's going to be a push lap or if they're doing race runs, because they did just go purple in the first sector, but not in the second and third, as you can see on the screens. But they'll go through turn 3. They'll go through... they'll go through turn 3 now. The sector line, I don't quite know where it is, but I assume it's just before turn 4. Maybe not.
I mean, I like to see it that they are struggling with the second to last corner that much, because if I can recall correctly in the game as well, it's quite a tough corner to get right as well. Obviously, in the game it feels more like you have endless grip, so you can lose the race somewhat and still not really like catch it, if you know what I mean. You can still just keep on to it. But it is quite realistic, to be honest, that the game is that close to real life as well. But maybe we have a bit too much grip in the game.
Yeah, maybe. Rumor, I don't know if it's true, is it flat if you have a good setup in the F1 game?
Yeah, it is flat. It's very much flat in quali. In the race, no. I'd never go flat there. Maybe if you do hard mediums, and then in the medium stint you can take it flat, I believe, for like 3-4 laps. But to keep the tires in check, don't take it flat. Like it will ruin the tires.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. All right, Charles Leclerc has just improved everywhere. They've set the purple final sector. We've got Lando Norris, who set the fastest first sector, not improving in the middle, but improving in the final sector. That put them up to P2, and they're 3 tenths behind the current P1 time, as Carlos Sainz has just gone and beaten that immediately. So the Ferraris are definitely the quicker car, and considering they're on the hards, and they're pretty much the same age, more or less, just 2 laps difference, obviously, so they're not that new for Norris, so maybe they can go a bit quicker, but still, a hard tyre is pretty impressive, and it's not exactly the hottest circuit of all, so I don't know. McLaren seem to be struggling with those temperatures. That's maybe what explains their losses of traction, as Oscar and Lando Norris have gone off into the gravel this session so far.
Yeah, I'm thinking now what this would mean if they went to softer tires, and I'm maybe even a bit worried for Ferrari now, because if they already have great grip on the hards, they get them up to temperature correctly and stuff. How will the softs be for them then? Will they overheat or will they hold on?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. But for McLaren, obviously the grip would be better as it is a softer compound. But it does mean that those tyres are able to cope more with the cooler temperatures. So I think maybe what we could see is in a race condition, the Ferraris absolutely thrive on a hard. It will be a bit closer on the medium, but I reckon the McLaren might be quicker on the softs. Maybe I'm wrong, but I reckon that could be the case. Could we see McLaren start the race on soft tyres? That is a car going off, and I don't think that's the way it was intended, because the gravel trap, well, they just drove straight around it instead of extending onto it. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to look at, because if all of a sudden people now get inventive and they, well, I've avoided the gravel trap, so I've gone off circuit and I've kind of served my penalty, but they've just kept it flat off the circuit, not quite flat, but you know what I mean. Yeah, that's pretty scary stuff, just for getting to turn in, it looks like, from Pierre Gasly.
I think the curb was just made out of glue or something,
Yeah,
like the entry curb, and he just couldn't get off.
yeah.
That's also the corner where I saw a lot of understeer for the Haas, so I'm not sure if that corner has just a lot of sand on it, because you can see offline from the Alpine there was a lot of sand. So would you gain time if you go off track like that? No, definitely not. You will definitely go lift off a little bit, or you have just insanely courage to keep it flat.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it just looks like more people have problems with that corner trajectory.
Yeah, yeah, it does. But we'll see. I think qualifying is the one that will really find people making those mistakes. Sprint qualifying is always an amazing session to watch. It's just every car trying to go as fast as they can, but they've got even higher stakes. So all of a sudden the limits are pushed harder and harder and harder. So we'll see how it goes. We've just got Carlos Sainz going absolutely rapid. Fernando Alonso improves it up to 7th place, but Carlos Sainz is going to be taking that fastest time, I'd assume, as he has gone to P1. Doing the triple right there. 23.0. That is, I just want to quickly double check according
Yep.
to the qualifying time last season. A 23.7 was the qualifying, not sprint, the qualifying time. That is absolutely mental, and that's on a hard tyre.
Yeah, I keep saying it. I want to see the McLaren and the Red Bull on the hard or the Ferrari on the mediums now, because I'm just wondering how is if there even is a gap between them, or is the hard maybe better on this track for some reason this
Mm.
year? It's interesting why or if Ferrari is so quick. I just want to know.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It would make sense that the softer compounds would have been better because the track is colder, but I don't know if they changed the tire allocation. So maybe it's not quite as it seems. I didn't check the tire allocation. I'll try and get that checked for sprint qualifying. Obviously, with sprint qualifying, they are it's mandatory to go on different tires. If I'm correct.
Yes.
Yeah, Q1 is hard, Q2 is medium,
No.
and is it not?
No, it's medium, soft.
Okay, so that medium tyre is, I assume, will still be pro Ferrari. If everything goes as it is, 20 minutes to maybe make those changes, we'll see. But then that softer session at the very end is going to be crazy. Still, traffic is absolutely crazy. It seems like everybody's getting in the way of each other.
Yeah, and we're on board with Stroll now. Well, I have something interesting about Stroll this time. I was watching a Dutch television show about Formula One, and they had some insights on how Stroll is as a driver slash person. And it's weird to think, but he generally sometimes just isn't really in the mood for F1 or something. Like he's not that. He doesn't really care. Sometimes he doesn't even like driving F1 sometimes. So it's weird that he is in Formula One, but it's just I believe because his dad gave him this opportunity and getting a lot of money in as well.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. The media gives them a lot of criticism. As commentators, it's a job to try and be as impartial. Obviously,
I'm not
no,
saying
no,
that
I'm
he
not. I'm
did
not
that.
suggesting that you are at all. I'm just onto my point here. Looking at his 2020 season, it was actually pretty good
Yeah,
from Lance Stroll. So if he could try and replicate something like that, then I don't think he'd be getting definitely as much, if any, kind of disrespect if he was able to consistently have that. Sure, they had their moments here and there, but they still got that pole position in Turkey and they got podium in, that would have been Sakir, not the Bahrain Grand
yeah,
Prix, I believe. Yes, Sakir. So,
yeah. That's the moments where he actually cares about F1. Like
mm,
he has those moments, but he's so much in his own bubble that
mm.
he just sometimes doesn't really care that much about F1.
Yeah, I may be wrong because obviously all may be wrong because we're not him at the end of the day. We can never really tell, but it's almost as if it's a kind of a denial situation where there's a mistake and they just kind of don't take responsibility for it. So maybe not looking to really have the need to learn. They're just going to drive the car and turn up. If that is the case, I'll be honest, they're doing a phenomenal job. If they turn up, they don't really care, and they just get in the car and drive, then to be in the position that they're in, that is actually very, very good.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll see. Just a quick note, we've not got long left of the session to go. That pit lane entry is brutal. On the corner exit, that is going to be quite a violent turn to the right, especially if you're on old tyres. I don't think we'll see anybody crash into the pit lane entry barrier, but it is still a pretty brutal pit lane entry turn from when they had it before. I don't know why they changed it, really, but they changed it, so it is what it is. That is, once again, another moment of traffic getting in the way, or was it just two cars on laps and they've unfortunately mixed up with one another? I believe that's probably more likely the case in a practice session.
Yeah. And I am going all over the place because I just realized something. I'm thinking about that gap we have between the hard and the medium runners. It might be explained as well that the hards are just getting maybe better and better the more you drive on it. Or instead, the mediums are just getting worse more quickly. So it hasn't really, it doesn't really mean the medium runners are now really far behind the Ferraris. It could be that they just are on really old medium tires, which are just used too much.
Yeah, it's possible. So Lando Norris in the pit lane now. They were on 17 lap old medium tyres. Currently, 19 lap old tyres for Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Actually, Carlos Sainz 18 lap old tyres. At the time, Lando Norris was on 11 lap old medium tyres when they set their fastest time, and Carlos Sainz was on 13 lap old hard tyres, I believe.
So it could be.
So 2 laps difference.
Yeah, then it could be because mediums, I assume, are going off quicker, especially around the track that is so demanding on with long corners.
Yeah, indeed. We're talking about criticism from Lance Stroll's side. Something that I feel has maybe fallen under the radar, because personally I think they are a very, very good driver. Would I argue that they could fight for a championship in the future? I think everybody would definitely have an argument towards it being the case. But Oscar Piastri hasn't exactly been matching their teammate too much in recent times. Sure, there's maybe been a bit of a change in the team before the Drivers' Championship was decided, so maybe things were slightly different. And now Oscar's got no cap onto what they can do. They can just go absolutely full pelt, but they haven't really been as quick as I thought they would have. Obviously in Baku they were absolutely awesome, but yeah, I don't know. They've had some pretty up and down moments, but we haven't really seen them in a few races. Vegas, I'm just trying to think what happened with them, but they were, I believe, a few positions behind Norris. Was that the case? I'm pretty sure. Or just a position behind. So yeah, Oscar Piastri is just trying to find his feet. I know they're probably, as a team, focusing on 2025, and Oscar's maybe trying to go for a title challenge there, but are they really able to compete with Lando consistently? Lando obviously getting a lot of criticism himself from being inconsistent, but if the other guy can't compete with the guy that's being critiqued, then is that a problem? I don't know. I'm making something out of nothing here.
I think if you look at Max, for example, or any other drivers in top 5, big weaknesses that you have at that moment are coming to the forefront. Yes. So I think Lando just has shown himself with being in the title fight, what he has to improve. He might be already improving it, and that maybe caused him to improve this season, whilst we didn't really see it that much that he actually improved in terms of pace or something. But it could be the explanation of the gap we have seen lately between Norris and Piastri. Because I still believe Piastri is the better driver.
Yeah, well, I I want to say I wouldn't disagree, but I'm going to stay impartial on that one. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, Piastri is still only in their second season, so you have to give them a little bit of praise for that one, of course, as well. But yeah, time will tell. As we talk about McLaren, we also want to talk about Ferrari. The first part of our predictions, we're not going to talk about qualifying predictions and race predictions until later on, but I do want to say, Heisler, who do you think is going to come out on top on the exit of this weekend? McLaren or Ferrari? Will it go to Abu Dhabi, or do you think McLaren will be able to secure the Constructors' Championship already here in Qatar?
If this practice session is anything to go by, I think it's gonna go to Abu Dhabi, and McLaren will have a really tough time to keep that P1 in the championship because the gap is not big. But yeah, if McLaren just are able to finish P3 and 4, maybe they are able to keep their P1. I'm not sure if the gap is big enough for that.
24 points.
No, I'm not that good with calculations for the constructors championship, so I'm not sure still if they have enough with P3 and P4 these two races. But I actually see Ferrari still getting this championship. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be. I think if they got equal amount of wins as well, so that could be a problem if neither of the teams win, unless that's. I'm calculating that wrong, and it would be if Ferrari to win the next two races, but I'm pretty sure they've got an equal number of wins. So if it was to go on to win rate, then it would still be a tie. If they were to score 12 points, of course, ahead of McLaren this weekend and do it again, then it would be even. I want to say McLaren can hold on to it because it would be such a shame to be so close, make that comeback mid-season, have the lead and then lose it in the last race. But I really do think that Ferrari might actually have it.
Yeah, I agree. I am a McLaren fan, but I agree with that. I think Ferrari are in a better position than McLaren at the moment. I don't know where they got it from. They were quick from what was it, Kota onwards, or the race before that.
Monza, they definitely showed some decent pace, even though if it was maybe taken with a pinch of salt because of the strategy. But yeah, since Monza, I think everything kind of swayed.
Yeah, and I believe multiple people said that Ferrari is quite good at the end of a season. So it's tough for McLaren to keep this position now. There won't be any updates for any team, I believe. So what they have now is what they have for the rest of these two races. But something real quickly, I don't know if you saw it as well with the Williams. What is that red ring in the middle of the wheel? Is that the brakes? I've never seen like the brakes on this spec of car.
Well, if they're glowing, then yes. I'm going to try and see if we can get another picture of that, but I don't think we're going to get another picture of it.
You do.
Yeah, that looks like the brakes to me. I mean, I doubt it would be wheel nuts that they've left on, because I think if it was the wheel nut, then they would have fallen off by now. Yes, that's the brakes, as you can see. Unless it's paint. Is it paint? I think it might be paint.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm seeing it all the time now, and I'm thinking, no way, that's the brakes. Like they are glowing all the time. So how is it possible that are the brakes?
Yeah, no, that's paint. That's definitely paint. I'm confused at why they painted it that color, but there will be a reason. They definitely paint the wheel nuts.
It is glowing. It is. It looks like
I
it's
think
glowing,
it's like
though.
a neon orange paint, surely.
I hope it is. Otherwise, everything
Yeah,
in that wheel
otherwise
is
on corner
melting.
exits the wheels are still glowing, and that's a big problem. Yeah, no, it's definitely paint. Why that is, I guess we'll never know. It will be a secret to them, as far as we know. It might be
I mean,
mentioned
it
on the
looks
media.
cool.
Yeah, it does. It does look very cool. It doesn't look healthy, but it looks quite cool. But yeah, it's not the brakes, so don't worry. I was gonna say it kind of looks like it, but at the same time, I don't think that's where it would be glowing if it was the brakes. That position on the wheel. So yeah, it would be a strange one. We've just got Alex Albon going purple in the middle sector, having a very good time. It should be a circuit that they can kind of get a good result on straight line speed wise, but high speed corners never really been that suitable for a Williams, and also cold temperatures have never really been that suitable for a Williams. This season it's definitely changed and they've made progress towards it. Last season it was a big struggle, but yeah, we'll see who can get out on top. Williams might have an opportunity. That is a soft tyre though, so if they are 4 tenths behind on a soft tyre, maybe it's not looking so optimal.
I mean, really quick about that paint again. I am missing that time where we saw actually the brakes glowing. Ever since this new spec of cars, you can't see it anymore.
No.
But I just loved it when they were when you were able to see those wheels glowing up in the braking zone. You could just see the power that's going into it and the heat it gets.
Yeah. Now, the closest we got to that was Gasly's car smoking. It wasn't quite glowing, it was smoking. The power that we saw leaving that car was pretty impressive. Sorry, that's really rude of me. Anyway, we have now got 7 minutes on the clock, and everybody is on their way out on the soft tyre, except from Ocon, and in the pit lane currently is Gasly, so they're looking to go a little bit later on. Other cars, there's a few question marks, so I believe they will be going out on the soft tyres as well, but the data hasn't quite come through just yet. But yeah, who will we see go really quickest? Leclerc's just gone purple in the first sector. Stroll's gone purple in the middle sector, but I'd expect the Ferrari will take that away in a moment or so. And Mercedes, what can they do? Can they try and find some extra pace? That is the Red Bull of, is that Max Verstappen slower than Lance Stroll in the middle sector?
Yep, I am watching it as well, and I'm surprised how far behind or how far, not far ahead he is of the time Sainz has now. And he will be just about ahead of, no, not even ahead of him, even behind Stroll. With Leclerc now 8 tenths faster than anyone else. I would be really worried if I was Red Bull now with that car.
I don't know. I think Stroll heard what we said and he didn't like it. He wasn't happy. He's absolutely flown and is still over half a tenth ahead of Russell and over a tenth ahead of Max Verstappen and his teammate. So that's very impressive. He's under half a tenth away from the current. P2. He's 8 tenths off Charles Leclerc. So Carlos Sainz is looking to try and get nice and close to his teammate. Doesn't look for an improvement ahead of his teammate, but it will be a lap that he's looking to try and be closer. That being said, it is still actually 7 tenths behind. So
He didn't really improve much from his hard time.
no, his final sector was horrible. So yeah, that wasn't quite as spectacular as we were maybe hoping right there. We've got Piastri going fastest in the first sector now, and Lando Norris is going to be going through the first sector as well to try and compete. So here come the McLarens. This is going to be our direct comparison.
Yeah, now Piastri is having a quick fast sector as well. I didn't expect them actually to be getting close to those times of the Ferrari, but it's looking like the McLaren is just not great on the mediums, or the Ferrari is just really good on the hards. But so far, it's looking like they are really close on Fosse at least, so we can still have a really nice quali next.
Yep, I think it's going to be pretty close. That's Piastri going right behind, I just want to quickly see the delta. We've got just under 2/10 behind. Lando Norris is going to be looking to try and finish their lap soon. The Mercedes goes across the line. That's Hamilton to P6, but Lando Norris, can we get it please on the screen? That is going to be P2, and they go ahead of their teammate, but still a 10th off Charles Leclerc. That is very, very interesting. I am perplexed at what Carlos Sainz has done, though. Still a long way off their teammate. Maybe there must have been a mistake, surely. Hopefully we can see what happened. But yeah, that's definitely made things very interesting, and we could have a very spicy race. Hulkenberg, I believe, possibly going over track limits.
Yep. No, they're not slowing. I could see it in the speed as well. Yeah, it was the track limit. But yeah, I don't know what Sainz did either. It should have. I think it's a mistake. It's too big of a gap without a mistake, but definitely Piastri made a mistake in the first sector. That is still, I believe, like just before the hairpin. Sometimes it's hard to tell around this track where it actually is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the McLarens are still very much in this, whilst they were looking a bit mediocre on the mediums. So that's nice to see that we actually will have a fight between the top two in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, I mean, now we look at all that, we say, okay, well, Piastri could have gone faster, maybe even go fastest if he didn't make that mistake. But at the same time, so many people are making mistakes. It kind of just is what it is, you know? Like, maybe someone else made a mistake, so if they didn't make that mistake, if everybody did their perfect lap times, which we'll never know, then the grid would probably look completely different. And, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But Charles Leclerc currently holds that time. We've got 2.5 minutes left on the clock. Will we get any secondary runs? I don't know. But we will definitely get some practice starts, I'd assume. But it looks like lots of people are going to be practice starting on the soft tyre. Looking at the freshest tyres currently, Hamilton on some pretty fresh tyres. Albon is on some pretty old tyres, scrub 5-lap-old tyres. So they're probably not going to be too competitive on that tyre. But lots of people are also going to be doing multiple laps on the same tyre. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see many people looking to use fresh tyres.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say two things. Firstly, the gap that might be explained with engine mode as well between the McLaren and the Ferrari. It's still fuel or how much power they were running in this run. So everything can still change to the next session. But the second thing I want to say is, what is going on with Paris? He is P18 right now. Did a lap on the softs and is behind Joe, for example.
Yeah, 1.797 off the current top time. That is a big, big gap. 24.0, not into the 23s. So, yeah, they've got a lot to do in these final moments. I mean, that being said, you just kind of write the session off and just go into qualifying and hope that you can dial it in then. I think that's what he's got to go for, but they are on their way out on track. We'll see what tyre they're going to be out on very soon. It looks like it will be the soft tyre. Yes, it should be the soft tyre. So they do have an opportunity to try and bring it back, but not that much. They didn't leave that much time on the clock.
Time in the session? Do they still have the time for that in the session?
It might be just enough. It might be just enough, but it would be in the last moments. They've really put it to the very end of the session. Lots of cars are pushing to improve. They are actually going for it. I mean,
McLaren improved.
They did.
They improved.
Yeah, they must have. Yeah, big time.
They were on a 22.
Yeah,
but they are now on a 21.
That's incredible.
So,
4/10 ahead of Lando.
Yeah, and I believe the McLarens are not doing a second run, or are they?
They will. Well, Lando Norris won't. He's in the pit lane, so I don't know why it says outlap. He's currently not going to be able to do that. It looks like he's on pit exit actually. Carlos Sainz crosses the line. That will be their session done. Sergio Perez will not get another lap in. Piastri is currently on a final lap, I believe, but they're not improving in the first sector. So I don't think they're going to be improving. I think that's just going to stay as it is. They're about 4 seconds off. Carlos Sainz last improved sector. We do have Bottas going purple in the middle sector, though.
He might be cooking. I mean, it's still a low grip track sometimes. It's getting rubbered in now, but still it's a lot of sand. So maybe he can cook something up on this track, and he actually does go P6.
Lovely, lovely. So Stroll, who was definitely making us regret what we were saying earlier on, well, beat that. Valtteri Bottas in the Sauber has just gone P6. That is pretty impressive right there. Still 1.1 seconds away from the current top team. But that is, yeah, a very, very good effort. Bottas been performing really well in the last few races, but it's just too late. Like, you know, the seat was decided, and then he started to perform. It seemed to happen with Giovinazzi back in the 2021 season as well. It just is a little bit too late, and it hasn't worked out. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. Heischler, who do you think is going to take sprint qualifying pole position? I think it's going to be Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Carlos Sainz.
I think it might be both on this, but I think Leclerc will go out in Q2 because Ferrari didn't run on the mediums.
True, maybe.
And I think it will be Piastri, Sainz, Max.
Fair enough. Bold, fair enough. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you later on for sprint qualifying. It's going to be a good one. We'll see you even later on, even more later, for the LSI F1 Championships. Again, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.